Hello and welcome to another edition of the Roker Rapport Podcast. Once again, it's me, Jimmy Loast, in the hot seat, and I'm delighted to say I've been joined by Swedish U21 international and former Sunderland forward Benjamin Kimpioka. Benjamin, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very good, thank you. I'm doing good, thanks.
Good to hear. There's only one place we can start, to be honest, and that's what's going on with you. Is there still any chance that the Sunderland fans might see you back at the Stadium of Light next season?
Obviously, I've said many times that Sunderland is a club that I love. Obviously, as you know, my contract is up with the club, and Sunderland has offered a contract, which me and my family and my agent been looking on, and the contract is still in it's still negotiating the contract to discuss with my family and for myself what I reckon is the best for all of us, obviously.
Is it just Sunderland you're talking to, or are there other offers on the table? Sort of what's the state of affairs with you at the moment?
I don't want to go in too much about that, but yeah, like as I said, like the contract is like we negotiated a contract with my with the family and the manager to, yeah, as I said, to find out what's best for me.
Cool. And how sort of active? Just one last one on this one. How active a role are you taking in these talks? Is it a case of your agents talking to the club every day, or is it more a week to week thing? How often are you sort of involved in that?
Spoke to the manager Phil a week or maybe a bit shorter than a week, maybe 6 days. I spoke to him personally about it. So yeah, I would say around week to week thing maybe. It's like changes maybe. Yeah, last week I spoke to the manager. I'll say something like that.
Okay, cool. And at this stage of your career, if you were to come back to us, would it need to be first team? Is it maybe another season in the 23s? Is it a mix? What would you be looking to do if you were to come back to us ready to go next month?
Obviously, I would look to go first. And obviously, I have high standards for myself. Even last season, before that, I think I could have played first team if I like last season for me. Obviously, was different stuff like happening. There's a lot of things, a lot of talks. But for now, like I feel I'm ready for first team. Push my chance into the team if I would play there, and if not, maybe loan. But I think like I could push myself into the team. I believe in myself, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're going to go into more detail on some of the successes you've had in the first team and some of your experiences at that level. But was that ever something that was discussed last season? Maybe around January time, going on loan. Has that ever been something that you've talked to any of the managers at Sunderland about, or has it always been thought that you were better off sort of in the under 23s with a view to occasionally being involved in the first team?
I think I can't really remember exactly, but I think it was a bit of both. I think it was a couple of times I could have gone on loan. I can't remember exactly when, but yeah, it was like I felt like at that time maybe I was close to the first team or to get my place or something like that, but I can't really remember exactly like the situation back there.
Yeah, sure, because obviously, you have been sort of right on that brink, maybe even in between the two teams at times. So I would have imagined there might have been talks about that sort of, yeah, at various points. Yeah, that's interesting to hear. I want to go back to the start. You sort of talked about your love of Sunderland. You obviously spent 4 years with the club. What I'm wondering is sort of like a promising Swedish youth international, how the opportunity came to come to England at such a young age and how that came about.
Yeah, so obviously it was when I was young, 15 years old in Sweden. We have it's called I don't know if it's called the same in English, but like districts. So
Yeah.
so different like districts make like the team of, like, for example, my district, they take the 21 best players from that district, and then different districts in Sweden, then they come down to play each other, and then there's a lot of scouts. So scouts from Sunderland that watches like the Scandinavian area scouted me from there. So that's how I came to a trial, and then I had a trial, and then I just, as quick as I came there, I just wanted to do my best and to try to get a contract.
And what was that like? Was there any apprehension, sort of like you said at 15, coming over to a new country, coming to England? What was that sort of the talks like with your family, weighing that up? How did you come to the decision that that was the right move for you at the time?
Obviously, my family is a very like it's a football family, and they pushed me since I was very young. So as quick as I got that, like it was nothing but to take it from me. They say go and do your best, and that was what I was thinking myself. So for me, I was just thinking I'm going on trial there, and I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Like a few players, they get the chance to go on trial. They tend to go on trial, and then they enjoy the experience. Then they come home, and then they talk about it. It was a good experience. But for me, it was I have to go there and like I have to get a contract here. There was nothing else in my mind. So that was the only way I was seeing it.
Yeah, yeah. So you just had that mentality that you had tunnel vision, that was where you were going to get to, and it was going to work out for you one way or another. What was sort of the biggest shock to the system, sort of Sweden versus England? What was the thing that you weren't expected for, or you found the toughest to adapt to in your first few months in the country?
Oh, I would say a lot.
Mm.
Like for example, the time of the ball. Like in Sweden, I could when I like in youth level when I took the ball, I can take the ball and dribble, and I had time on the ball. I could do like almost whatever I wanted. And then like in England, when I came and we, for example, had preseason games against all the teams, you think it would be easy because they were older, like men and like in low division, but they would still like tackle you hard. Like they didn't care like what age you were. So just the quickness and the like aggressive and the tackles and all of that and the competitiveness. It was just a different like environment, but like I just felt straight away that I loved it. Like this was meant for me, like the competitiveness.
Yeah, that's sort of more physical. That's one thing about going on loan. Everyone talks about the toughness of the lower leagues and how aggressive those guys can be.
Yeah.
Was there anything off the pitch that kind of you were like that really stood out in the early months as wow, this is completely different to what I'm used to?
Oh yeah. First of all, the food. Obviously, I can't like my family. My mom's a chef. She's been a chef
Mm.
now. She's finished with that. So the food here is high standards in the house.
Mm.
If mom makes something that's not good, it's lots of arguments happening. So when I
Mm.
came to England, like I have to be honest, I'm not so big of a fan of the breakfast and like the food and stuff. So the food, I would say, is not my favorite part. Outside of football, obviously it's a different. I didn't think about it so much. Like when I came over, like I just played football and went straight back to home in
Yeah.
my bed. Just try to get ready for the next day. Just wanted the next day to come quick as possible. So maybe like just try to do stuff to make time go quick. Maybe play PlayStation,
Sure.
watch Netflix, and stuff like that.
What sort of things did the club do for you? How sort of hands on were they? You come over, like you said, at midway through your teen years. What did they do to help you settle? How often were they checking in with you?
Obviously you could go talk to the coach whenever you wanted,
Mm.
like whenever you felt that you had to and stuff. So it always helped you with that. And like it was always loads of different coaches. It didn't even have to be your own personal coach, like for your team at that time. It could be a goalkeeper coach or a coach for the younger ones that just like checked on you and like how stuff was. And even like some players, like for me at the time, Joel was there and Oscar, like two
Mm.
Swedish players, and they helped me a lot as well. Because they knew coming to a new country at a young age it's difficult, you don't have family or friends or stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, it must have been nice to have people you could lean on. They yeah, must have been a huge help, definitely. And I'd imagine Joel's just a great person to lean on, I guess, in that case.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any other sort of people that you shared a really good relationship with through the years at Sunderland, or people you looked at that you were very close to?
Obviously, I've had a lot of players. Like I've known like a few players, but some of them doesn't even play for the club anymore. But some under 23 players, some players, for example, like Bali Mumba,
Mm.
Lee Connolly, Joel Soro, and I've had some different like Jack Diamond or two players that just left. Williams left to Middlesbrough and Ahmed in France. So I've made a few of like more players. I probably forgot to mention some few of the few, but like yeah, it's good, very good personalities at the club, It's always been that. So yeah, always grateful to meeting people like that. Yeah.
Brilliant, and that's a perfect segment because the EFL Trophy was really your avenue into the first team. I think up until the semi-finals, there was only one game you missed in that 2018-19 season in that competition. How much did you enjoy that as a route into the first team?
Yeah, it was very good experience. I'm grateful for the managers, Jack Ross and Potts and Fowler for giving me the chance to come and to play, and they believed in me. So I'm grateful for that, and it was very very fun. Even if it even wasn't a full stadium, it was only the one side, but like I could feel the taste of the Sunderland fans already, and I loved it so much.
Yeah, and it really was a competition that it felt on a personal level with you. As the games were on, sort of the Man City under 21s game, the Newcastle game, the more games you play, you really seem to grow and get better as the competition wore on a personal level, I thought.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree, because obviously confidence is a very, very big thing in football, and it's something you have to build your own confidence. You got to earn your confidence, So every chance I got, I had to prove myself, and do my best every game.
How much did you feel a part of the first team? Like you said, that you enjoyed sort of the conversations you had, the training you had under Jack Ross and James
Mm.
Fowler. How sort of integrated into the first team were you around that time when we're playing in that competition, sort of every 2 weeks at one point?
I was training a lot with them, playing games with them. Obviously, I was training with the 23s as well. But I haven't, fully earned like first team like play status, because there's a lot more you have to do to, feel like a first team player at that stage. But I would say I got a good taste of it, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Is that quite difficult? Sort of going between the two, sort of maybe, I don't know, being invited over to train with the first team on one day and then having to get prepared for another game on the Monday or whatever with the 23s. How easy is that to sort of adapt to as a player?
To be fair, in the beginning for me, it wasn't tough, because I just love to play football,
Mm.
because that's the biggest blessing in my life, family and football. So for me, I didn't think about it that much at the beginning. But then at some point when the contract offer came in, and like I started to hear stuff and blah 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 and this and that, I started to think more. I started thinking this and that, which is very bad for myself. But I always had coaches to tell me, because they realized that it was tough for me to go back and forth and having this contract offer, and the stuff I was hearing off the pitch, with other things. They could see that I was thinking a lot. You know what I mean? So I was always getting the advice that just don't forget to just love football and play the game and have fun, because you start to forget that. That's like we can see that in you. And I tried to listen, but yeah, it was at the beginning, it wasn't a problem, but then for myself, I started to overthink stuff.
Yeah, and would that have been sort of round about January time 2019, like you said, with the contract offer? You then had Stuart Donald come out and he
Mhm.
sort of talked about not wanting to see you in the first team until you signed a deal. Was that really maybe the toughest period for you at Sunderland?
Yeah, that would be I would say that was the toughest period for me. Yeah, the very start when I came, when I have to deal with my family, without living with my family, and that part were probably the two toughest moments. Like I didn't call home to family because I don't want them to know that it wasn't going so well for me. I just want them to hear positive things. I was just keeping a lot of stuff to myself. And I think that hurt me quite a lot.
When did it come back to them? When did they actually sort of find out about that stuff? Did they find out through someone else, or did you eventually have to call back, or what happened there?
I think it was through there was one thing. I don't know how to say it, like a headline or something like that.
Yeah.
But when they said that I wasn't gonna play in the first team until this and that, and then my brother saw that, and then he asked me if it was true, and I didn't know, because stuff you read. I don't really read into it that much or believe to it, because anyone can write an article or something. But they realized that, like they asked me, like, you don't sound very well. Is it something this and that? And I always just say no, 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 fine, I'll fight. But they know like when I don't feel well. So they obviously found out, and they spoke to me and stuff. And I think it was a period after that. I think my mom and dad came over. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a weird situation because on one side, obviously, you've got to do what's best for you, and what's best for Sunderland mightn't be best for you, and obviously, there's two different factors, and it's not easy. It's not an easy decision. Signing
Mm.
contracts, making decisions on where you're going to live and where you're going to go. It's definitely not easy, especially
Especially
if the club hadn't given you clarity. When you did see that headline, was who did you then speak to at the club to try and find out more? Was it Jack Ross or Elliot Dickman? Who was the person that kind of cleared things up for yourself?
To be honest with you, I can't really remember exactly what I did, but I just remember that I was just trying to like ignore it, or don't believe it, which was wrong. I probably should have asked, or maybe like, because it's never wrong to ask a question. And I think me thinking into that even more and more made me become more like use that frustration on the training and on the pitch, and maybe not trying as much, maybe becoming a bit ignorant or something. And then that maybe just that hurt my football and my performances. And then, and then like start blaming like stuff and that. So like I don't know, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. That you thought, right, I'm just going to knuckle down and focus on me and focus on what I can control, rather than maybe worry about other factors that you're not 100% sure on.
Uh,
Stuart Donald obviously first said the comment that we don't want another Josh Maja situation in reference to you, that there's a contract offer there. We don't really want him on the first team until he's signed it on our podcast. But then Jack Ross said to the media, no, he can play. And then at the same time, we signed a lot of players. We signed Lewis Morgan. Other players came back from injuries. So there was a lot of competition for your place in the first team anyway. So it was very hard for us to read between lines as to what was true or wasn't true as well. So it was just a bizarre situation all round, really.
yeah, I know. I was thinking the same way, but I was just not trying to think at anything at all. Because yeah, and like I was not trying to show that it affected me. Because me as a person, I can I can say that I keep a lot of feelings for myself. Like I don't try to show much like feelings,
Mm.
because I just especially to family and that. Even till this day, which maybe isn't a good thing, but it's just the way I am, So at that moment when that situation was like that, I was just trying to handle it by myself, which I maybe shouldn't have done, maybe I've asked family or stuff for support because it was a tough time for me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big experience in your career that you can learn from. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is obviously, like I said, you flourished in that EFL Trophy competition, played really well, was then trying to get more opportunities in the first team. You're on the bench, you got on against Peterborough in a big game, you had a few other experiences. What was it like around that time, round about Christmas, 18 months ago, when you were sort of in and out of the first team picture? What was it like being on the bench in sort of full stadium of light and in big games?
Yeah, obviously, so it's one of them feelings you can't explain. At the start, when you're a young player and you get, for example, when you get subbed on, and like just the love you get from the fans, like when the whole stadium is shouting, just because
Mm.
like you're a young, exciting player that they want to see, and just that, like when you hear that like roar or shout from the stadium, it's like a feeling you just can't explain. It's impossible. It's like almost like scoring a goal when I got subbed on. So at that time, I was just after a game, I was just ready. I just wanted to like go to bed, start the next day as quick as possible, and wanted the week to come to the weekend and just try to get in a team or something like that. Because the feeling is literally you can't describe it. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, no, that goal against Coventry was incredible. They obviously went on to become the champs, and like I remember going mad when that went in. I'm sure every Sunderland fan did. How long does that high last? Like you said, you're just waiting for the next Saturday, the next game after that. Sort of take me through, yeah, trying to calm down and enjoy that moment, your first goal in the league.
Obviously, for me, like the way I am after the goal during the game, yeah, it was a great feeling. But and the players around you and the manager, they like soon as you get in the change room, they congratulate you, and then after that, they want to make sure that okay, tomorrow's okay, is train again, be the best player in training, run the hardest, and then make sure. So not that you forget about the goal. Obviously, they congratulate you and like you deserve it, but that's not close to enough. So you can't be satisfied with one goal, even if it's a good feeling. You have to want to score more goals every game. You need to start. That's the mentality you have to have, and that's the support you get from the players and staff around you. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
Obviously, you've played a number of different positions across the forward line when you have come on under different managers in the first team. I was wondering where you enjoy playing and sort of where you think your best position is.
It's quite different, really. When I came to Sunderland, I came as a left winger
Yeah.
because I was like more skinnier, more quick. And after the years, I did a lot of gym. I became like bigger, and then like for Sweden national team, I became like a target striker. And then when Jack Ross came in, I became a striker too. So I've been a lot. So most of my career, I've been a striker now, I would say. But obviously, I like to get on the ball, so I don't know. I like to play central, but I don't know. I could play both 9 or like drop off the 9 a little bit to drive the ball. But yeah, just anywhere up front. Yeah.
Okay, and at the moment with Phil, have you had any conversations about where he sees as your best position, where he'd maybe envision you playing if you were to come back?
I'll probably guess as a striker.
Yeah.
But obviously, yeah, I can like for me, it's not a problem to play behind striker or to the left or to the right. Yeah, but like what I play, for example, Sweden striker and the most game strikers. So
I sort of wanted to move on to last season, having played so many games in the first team, having played obviously in the 5 EFL Trophy games, come on another 4 League One games. Did you set any targets for the amount of first team appearances you wanted to make or anything like that?
not really. I wasn't setting a target like that. I was more thinking like just to start a game in the league. That was the first one I wanted to get to start a game for me.
Nearly happened after the Coventry game. I would have thought
Mm.
that must have been a discussion that the coaches had after that game. You came on again, obviously, in the next game, but I did think maybe that might have been the chance. That might have been the one where he gave you the nod ahead of Will. Did you bang on the manager's door at all about that one, or try and force your foot through then?
No, not really. I was just I was expecting maybe like the chance to start the next game after would be higher. When I didn't start, obviously I'm a very very competitive guy, but obviously I just had to keep showing it on the pitch and in the trainings and stuff. So yeah.
How do you find the experience of being on the bench and sometimes not getting on? Because there've been a lot of times where maybe a game's been close, both under Jack Ross and Phil Parkinson as well, where you've been on the bench and maybe it's turned to someone else or they haven't made a substitution. How do you kind of compartmentalise that and deal with sort of that disappointment ahead of them playing for the 23s or next being involved in the first team?
Um, I'm just trying to. After that, I'm just thinking, okay, well, but I'm gonna prove that I'm better than that player or better than that player for the next day, and that's what I believe. That's what I believe that you have to do. You can't talk yourself or argue yourself into anything. You just have to prove it with action. So prove in training why I should start or why I should have been brought on there to make it easier for the manager. So everything is just onto myself, like yourself as a human or as a player. So yeah.
Yeah, another thing I have to touch on because it's something that we've kind of been putting our hair out watching as fans is your experiences with the under 23s because I mean we've had a lot of success in the Sunderland Academy before and for whatever reason the last couple of years it's been really really tough. How have you found sort of your experiences with the 23s? Results haven't been great. What's it like kind of coming into training and getting up for games when the record hasn't been what you'd hoped for?
Obviously, I would lie if I would say that it's fun.
Mm.
Fun is when you win. For example, it's tough when you come home and people fans call you, "Hey, how was your game?" And like, yeah, we lost next week. We lost next week. We lost. family ask you how's the game. We lost week in, week out, But you can't come in with the mentality and just accept that just like losing. You have to try to change that. And it didn't go so well for the whole team. So it was I must say it was tough. It was tough, yeah. But as I said in the beginning, I'm blessed and I'm grateful that I always get the chance week in, week out to play football, and we always get the chance to change that, and we have to be thankful to God, and to that we can always get the opportunity. That's the good thing with football. It's always chance for change. Like it's never too late. So I was always motivated still after losing and stuff.
Is it maybe extra difficult on yourself being one of the players who hasn't gone out on loan, that's had more first team experience? You maybe look to as a leader in the group, as one of sort of the more well known players. Does that put extra pressure and responsibility on you to sort of keep
Yeah,
everyone going?
yeah. I know what you mean with that, and I agree. Yeah, there is a bit pressure. Yeah, and in trainings you have to be on top and make sure you're not one of the players that are lacking in the session, because you're like one of the, like you, as you said, the players. So, but that's something I love. I love pressure. I love having pressure on me to make sure that you have to be the one to make difference. You have to be the one to do this and that, and to help the team. And I'll try to do that every day, and I will always try to do that for my whole life. So yeah, it was tough, but I love it still.
We spoke to Ruben Sammet quite recently, who obviously was a part of the 23s and, like yourself, was just sort of on the brink of breaking through into the first team as well. And he talked about how he really likes Elliot Dickman, he really liked the coaching, and he just thought it was a lot of outside factors and other reasons that it's just really tough for Sunderland in its current state to compete against the top academies in the country. Is that, would you say similar? How did you find sort of the coaching and the preparation at that level?
Yeah, I would agree with Ruben. I have respect and I like every single coach from Elliot Dickman to in the 23s and Croc and Prods and all of the young staff. I respect them, and I have love for all of them. So yeah, as I say, I would always have love for them, and I would like to.
Benjamin, once again, thank you so much for your time. Is there? You said you love the Sunderland fans. We don't know whether or not you're coming back. We're hoping you're coming back. Is there a final message?
I always keep saying that I love the fans for like the way that made me feel when I been coming on, or for example when I've scored. So I was like feelings like that you can't explain. So I always be grateful and thankful. It's a blessing, yeah, and I always love the fans. Yeah.
The feeling's very much mutual. And once again, thank you so much for your time and appearing on the podcast. And hopefully this is bye for now, and you'll be travelling back over from Sweden very shortly to rejoin up with the lads. Thanks so much for your time, Benjamin.
Thank you too very much.
No problem at all.